Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, The Intimacy Lab. I want to ask you a question that might hit you right in the center of your chest. Have you ever seen her laughing on Instagram, smiling in pictures with friends, moving through life as though your absence was a gift to her freedom? You see those photos, you hear mutual friends mention how she's doing better than ever, and something in you tightens. You wonder, was it all a lie? Was I the only one who struggled to move on? It's haunting, isn't it? When she's acting happy without you, as if she never shared your bed, your meals, your dreams. But I want you to pause right here with me, because that performance of happiness, it's rarely as simple as it seems. What you're witnessing is not necessarily her inner peace. It may be her strategy, her armor, her carefully curated image to protect her dignity in the face of heartbreak. And I know it stings, but what if I told you that her smiles might conceal the same emotional dissonance you feel? What if you could learn not just how to interpret her behavior, but how to use this moment as a mirror for your own healing and power? So tonight, we're going to talk about what it really means when she acts happy without you, and why looking deeper can change everything. You sit there scrolling through your phone, that familiar ache rising in your chest as you stumble upon her latest post, her smile wide, hair glowing in the afternoon light, captioned with some carefree line about gratitude or freedom. You try to convince yourself that you're over it, that it doesn't matter anymore, but your mind keeps looping. How can she look so happy? This is where many people get trapped. We tend to interpret what we see on the surface, the curated photos, the radiant laughter, as a declaration of truth. But in reality, happiness, especially post-breakup happiness, is far more layered, far more complex. What you're seeing may not reflect how she truly feels inside. It reflects what she wants you and the world to believe. And that distinction, that's the key that sets you free. You see, after a breakup, both men and women have this instinct to project strength. It's not just about healing, it's about proving to themselves, to their friends, and yes, to you that they're fine, that they're thriving. This is a very human impulse. When we lose something or someone, we need to regain control somewhere. And in today's world, where images speak louder than words, that projection often happens online, in smiling selfies and vacation pictures that might mask nights spent tossing and turning. That image of happiness, it's a performance, often as much for her own sake as for anyone watching. But while you're busy decoding her smile, there's something far more important that needs your attention, your own internal state. Here's where you must begin to look deeper, not into her curated happiness, but into your own triggers. Why does it hurt so much to see her appearing happy without you? Is it because you feel replaced, unimportant? Or perhaps because you're questioning the entire relationship through the lens of this new chapter of hers. That discomfort you feel, that's where your work begins. The moment you feel hooked into analyzing her happiness is the moment you need to redirect your gaze inward. It's not about her anymore. It's about how your sense of self is being challenged in this moment. In my years of working with couples and individuals, I've noticed a pattern. Often, men who see their ex-partner move forward with a mask of joy are not simply mourning the loss of connection. They are mourning a loss of identity. The breakup shakes something deeper, the belief that I mattered, that I was enough, and that, my friend, is where this conversation truly starts. Because when you watch her seemingly flourish without you, what's actually being activated is your own fear that you were dispensable, that your presence in her life didn't leave the mark you hoped. It did, but this is a distortion. The truth is, you did matter, and your relationship did mean something. But healing and appearances look different on every person. I want you to consider this. Sometimes the smile she posts is not a reflection of her inner state, but a declaration to herself that she will be okay. And that's okay. You don't have to compete with her healing journey. Your task is to reclaim your own. So instead of asking, "Is she truly happy without me?" ask yourself, "Why does my peace depend on whether she's struggling or not?" This question is powerful because it helps you break the cycle of external validation. The longer you fixate on whether she's secretly miserable or genuinely happy, the more you remain trapped in her story instead of writing your own. And let's talk about time, because early on, when the breakup is still raw, both partners are often playing roles. She may be playing the role of the liberated woman. You may be playing the role of the stoic man or the man desperately looking for clues of hope. But beneath those performances are real emotions, unresolved feelings, lingering bonds. If she truly didn't care, she wouldn't need to project happiness so loudly. If she truly felt nothing, there would be no need to show the world she's thriving. Her display of joy, especially right after a breakup, is often a reflection of just how painful letting go has been. This is where you, as a man, have an opportunity. The opportunity is not in outshining her on social media, not in proving to anyone that you're doing better. 2, it's in letting go of the contest altogether, because love is not a scoreboard, healing is not a race. By pulling your gaze away from her timeline and turning inward, you take your power back. You stop letting the illusion of her happiness dictate your worth. And this doesn't mean you harden your heart or pretend you don't care. It means you allow yourself the grace to heal without comparison. What I want you to hear is this: it's natural to feel triggered when you see her laughing and thriving without you. But that moment is a call to rise above the need for external confirmation. When you look deeper, when you ask yourself why this hurts so much and what story you're telling yourself about her happiness, you begin to see that this is not about her, it's about you, your sense of value, your self-love. And as you gently hold that realization, as you breathe through it, you'll start to reclaim your own emotional space. The truth is, her smile in that picture may not even belong to you anymore, but your healing, your growth, your peace, those are still within your grasp. You see, when we let go of analyzing her smile, her captions, the way she's moving on, we begin to free ourselves from a trap we often don't even realize we're caught in, the trap of comparing our private pain to someone else's public performance. That is one of the most dangerous comparisons of all. Because while you're sitting quietly with your grief, maybe even ashamed of how long it's taking you to feel okay, she's out there showing the world how radiant her life appears. But remember this: what people show and what they feel are rarely aligned, especially in the fragile period after a relationship ends. Many women, just like many men, use activity, socializing, even laughter as ways to create distance from their emotions. They don't necessarily want to process the pain head on right away. Sometimes they need to distract themselves first. Sometimes they need to feel like they're winning the breakup. Does that mean her happiness is fake? No, not fake, just incomplete. It's one layer of her experience, a layer she's choosing to highlight. And that's her right. But for you, this is where emotional maturity comes into play. Can you hold space for her to be both hurt and joyful, grieving and radiant? Can you hold space for your own pain without demanding that she carry it publicly too? This is where so many men struggle. We tend to equate visibility with reality. If she's posting pictures smiling on vacation, then surely she's over us. If she's not reaching out, then she must not care anymore. But this is emotional thinking at its most reactive. What we're really witnessing is her way of coping, and her coping is not a commentary on your worth, nor is it a judgment of the relationship you shared. In fact, some of the strongest relationships leave the deepest imprint, and that depth often needs to be hidden because to reveal it would be too raw, too vulnerable. She might be protecting her own pride, her own need to look resilient in a culture that often shames women for grieving visibly after love ends. She might even still be thinking of you late at night while presenting a polished exterior during the day. But none of this truly matters when it comes to your healing. The moment you attach your peace to her apparent state of happiness, you surrender your agency. And that's something we want to reclaim right now. Ask yourself this: if you had no window into her post-breakup life, if there was no social media, no updates from friends, no glimpses of her smiles and adventures, how would you be processing this breakup? Would you feel freer to grieve in your own way? Would you feel less caught in the swirl of emotions that her public image provokes? The truth is, we live in an era where breakups no longer end at goodbye. They continue through screens, through scrolling, through a constant stream of reminders. And that's exhausting, so maybe this is your invitation to detox from that connection, to unfollow if you need to create boundaries that allow your heart to breathe again. And as you step back from her projected happiness, you may notice something remarkable. The space left behind is yours to fill. You can fill it with reflection, with growth, with rediscovering who you are outside of this relationship. It's time to stop narrating her story in your mind and begin writing your own. Because here's the deeper truth that so many people overlook. A breakup is not just the end of a relationship. It's an opportunity to renegotiate your relationship with yourself. Who are you when you're no longer defining yourself as her partner? Who are you when no one is looking? You might feel the temptation to perform to rush into dating, to show that you're happy, to prove that you're winning the breakup as well. But I encourage you not to fall into that trap. Instead, sit with yourself, sit with your loneliness, your loss, your longing. These are not weaknesses, they are doorways into parts of yourself you may have neglected during the relationship. Doorways into deeper self-awareness and self-compassion. Doorways into freedom, freedom not from pain, but from the need to control how you're perceived. And this is where a new kind of strength begins to emerge. The kind of strength that doesn't need to post about it, doesn't need to seek validation from others, and doesn't need to compare its journey to anyone else's. Your healing will look different than hers. It may take longer, or it may take a different shape. That's okay. There's no schedule for grief, no timeline for moving on. And if you allow yourself to honor your process without measuring it against her projected joy, you give yourself a precious gift, the gift of authentic recovery. What's more, as you move forward, you might even begin to feel gratitude for what this breakup is teaching you. Gratitude, not in a naive way, but in a profound way. Because loss reveals what we value. It strips us down to our essentials and asks us, what kind of man do you want to be next? What kind of love do you want to offer next time? And most importantly, can you love yourself enough to heal fully before you reach for love again? That question is at the heart of your journey now, and it's a question only you can answer quietly in your own time and without needing her happiness or sadness to inform it. So when you see her smiling without you, laughing in photos that sting a little, breathe, look deeper, yes. But not at her, look deeper into yourself. Her performance of happiness is hers to hold. Your healing is yours to honor. And that's where your focus needs to stay. So much of your struggle right now, as you sit there wondering why she seems so light without you, comes down to an old but powerful illusion that if she appears to be happy, then your relationship couldn't have mattered as deeply as you thought. But here's what I want you to hear, clearly and gently. Her happiness, authentic or curated, does not erase the history you shared. What you had with her was real. It shaped both of you. It left an imprint. And whether she's crying silently behind closed doors or finding new adventures to fill the space you once occupied, that history remains a part of her too. No Instagram post can wipe it away. No laughter at brunch with friends can rewrite the chapters you wrote together. And yet, the mind wants to turn this into a competition, doesn't it? Who's coping better? Who's happier now? Who will move on first? But this game, if you play it, guarantees that you'll remain entangled not in love, but in the performance of post-love. That's why I'm inviting you to step out of that dance entirely, to stop performing for an audience that's mostly in your imagination. The real work isn't in pretending you're over her or showing the world you're fine. It's in creating a life that is genuinely nourishing, genuinely healing, genuinely yours. In my work, I see this over and over again. The man who is willing to pause, who is willing to sit with the discomfort of loss, emerges stronger, wiser, more grounded than before. He becomes more attractive not because he rushes to replace her, but because he learns to replace the dependence on external validation with a deeper intimacy with himself. That's the journey before you now. To stop checking her updates and start checking in with your soul. To stop waiting for signs that she's struggling and start nurturing the parts of you that need attention, your passions, your friendships, your purpose. And here's a truth that might feel counterintuitive, but is profoundly freeing. You can wish her well, even from this place of pain. You can look at her smile, whether it's genuine or just for show, and offer her compassion without sacrificing your dignity or your process. Because your healing doesn't require her to suffer. It requires you to stop defining yourself by her narrative. That doesn't mean you won't think about her. It doesn't mean you won't feel waves of sadness or longing. But over time, as you stay committed to your healing and your growth, those waves will soften. They will lose their power to knock you down. And one day you'll look back and realize that you no longer need her sadness to feel okay, nor her happiness to feel threatened. You'll realize that you've become a man who is whole not because she left, and not because you outgrew her, but because you chose to make this chapter a turning point rather than a dead end. And you will also realize that while she may have looked happy without you, your peace was never dependent on how she looked at all. Your peace comes from how you hold yourself now, so take a deep breath with me, let that image of her smile float past like a cloud. You don't have to analyze it anymore. You don't have to compare your journey to hers. All you have to do is keep walking your own path, one step at a time, honoring every feeling that arises, and trusting that with each passing day, you're becoming more of yourself. This is your time to reclaim your story, not as a man scorned, not as a man obsessed with her next move, but as a man choosing to live with dignity, intention, and a heart open to healing. That's your power, and no photo, no caption, no appearance of happiness from her can take that away. And as you sit here, listening to this reflection, I want you to take this moment seriously. This isn't just a discussion about breakups. This is a conversation about who you will be when your life invites you into discomfort, into spaces where things don't go as planned, where love feels like it slipped through your fingers, and where appearances, hers, yours, can seduce you into distraction, because the truth is, love never really ends cleanly. Even when a relationship is over, the echo of it stays in us for a while. We carry those memories, the good and the painful, and sometimes we revisit them not because we miss the other person, but because we miss a part of ourselves we felt when we were with them. That's why seeing her happy without you can feel so jarring. It can feel like you're watching her walk away from a chapter you still live inside. But here's what I want you to hold gently. Just because she's moved into another chapter doesn't mean your story is frozen. You are not stuck unless you stay stuck. In those moments when you feel left behind, scrolling through her feed, wondering if she's happier now, measuring your healing against her curated life, I want you to remember this. Your journey doesn't require her to slow down for you to catch up. Your growth isn't contingent on whether she struggles too. Her smile in that photo is hers to own, hers to define. Your life, your worth, your peace, those belong to you. You are not competing with her journey. You are not in a race to look whole first. The deepest freedom comes not when you win the breakup, but when you no longer need to play that game at all. And when you do that, something beautiful happens. You begin to reclaim your narrative, not as a reaction to her, but as a reflection of who you are becoming. You get to ask yourself quietly and honestly, what kind of man do I want to be now? Not the man who constantly checks whether she's watching your stories, not the man who rushes into another relationship just to feel desirable again, not the man who mistakes attention for affection or distraction for healing, but the man who knows his worth regardless of whether she ever validates it again. That's maturity. That's real confidence. That's intimacy with yourself. And in that place of self-intimacy, something shifts inside you. You stop needing explanations for why she looks happy. You stop wondering whether she's thinking about you late at night. You stop playing detective with her online presence, and you start coming home to yourself, because that is the gift of loss when you allow it to teach you. It brings you back to the relationship you have with yourself, and that relationship that's the only one that will stay with you no matter who leaves or stays. So today, I invite you to do something bold. Let go of the narrative that her happiness without you diminishes your worth. Let go of the idea that her next chapter defines the value of the chapter you shared. Let go of the urge to watch her journey as a measure of your own progress. Instead, turn toward yourself. Ask yourself what would nourish you today. Ask yourself what passions you've neglected. Ask yourself how you can rebuild your life, not for her to see, but for you to live. Because when you stop watching her for signs of closure, you'll realize something deeply liberating. The closure you seek has been within you all along. It was never about whether she's truly happy without you. It was always about whether you could be truly at peace with yourself. And that peace, that self-respect, that quiet dignity, that's where your healing happens. So next time you see her smiling, next time you hear she's thriving, smile back, not because you're unaffected, but because you understand that your healing no longer depends on what she feels or pretends to feel. Your healing is yours, your journey is yours, and with each day that you choose yourself, you become less interested in her performance and more invested in your reality. So breathe deeply, my friend. Let her go with grace. Thank her silently for what you shared and for what she has taught you about love, loss, and yourself. And then come back to your life, come back to your body, come back to your path, because this is not about who appears happy first. This is about who learns to live honestly, courageously, and fully, and that is a life worth living.